Here is openly welcome in your name. I'd like to introduce, I know he is around here, there he is, Mr. Sam Vaghar. Come on up.
Thanks, Patrick.
Great to have you again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Great.
Tremendously honored. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. First and foremost, thank you, Patrick. Thank you, FAF. What a phenomenal event. I think we all should give you and your team a round of applause. There's so many friends here. FAF is incredible. Jamie and IYC, the whole team here, so many friends. I want to share my story, our story of the Millennium Campus Network, and really give you a call to action this morning. So my story is simple. I was a very shy high schooler. Some would call me a loser. I don't term myself that way, but some said I was on the outside looking in. And I remember, I'll never forget, I had one date in all 4 years of high school. That was it. I know, it's funny, yeah. One date in all 4 years of high school. And it was a blind date set up by my friends, so I was just too afraid. I still remember picking up my phone to call a girl and being so afraid I just couldn't do it. And fast forward to college, I went to Brandeis University outside of Boston. Two things changed my life. Two things. Number one, I was in a store and I stumbled upon an article. It said, "How to End Poverty." It was the cover of Time magazine. And it was excerpts of the book, The End of Poverty, by the economist Dr. Jeffrey Sachs, who's the special advisor to the UN Secretary General on the Millennium Development Goals. And what stuck out to me in that article, and then in reading the book, The End of Poverty, was that, one, I learned that 1.2 billion people around the world are living on less than $1.25 per day, lacking access to food, health care, clean, safe drinking water, things that I take for granted. But two, that rich and poor nations can work together to address this crisis. We all have a responsibility to do so. And that stuck out to me because I suddenly realized we're not alone. We're all interconnected. We all have a role to play in changing aid policy, trade policy, debt cancellation policy, addressing corruption, advancing good governance. There's a lot that we can do as citizens to move governments, to move businesses, to move NGOs, to be smarter, more effective, more sustainable in their efforts. So, literally reading that article propelled me to take action. I read the article, I read the book, I put down this book, The End of Poverty. I picked up the phone at 19 years old. Is anyone here 18, 19, 20, 21, around that age by a show of hands? Okay. So for all of you, I was your age. And I put down the book, I picked up the phone, and I cold called Jeff Sachs. 2 days later, I was down in New York meeting with his team, and I told him then, look, I don't have the answers. I'm 19 years old. I don't have the answers yet, but I know our generation can do more on these issues. Of that, I am certain, and I want to try. And I came back to Brandeis. We started fundraising little by little. Big actions start small. We teamed up with events, bake sales, concerts, you name it, and we raised $5,000 for bed nets to prevent malaria. And from there, we said, what can we do next? What can we do next? We've mobilized our campus at Brandeis. Where can we go from here? So we convened 6 student organizations from 5 campuses in Boston. And we said, with 2 organizing principles. Number 1, that we as young people can actually make a difference in advancing the UN Millennium Development Goals. And number two, that we're going to be more effective if we work together, if we all work together, rather than trying to go at it alone. 6 months later, we had our first Millennium Campus Conference at MIT. 1,000 students showed up from around the world. Jeff Sachs showed up. Dr. Paul Farmer of Partners in Health showed up. John Legend showed up. All these global leaders showed up. And we were shocked. We said, we're 2021. What do we know? What do we know? Now the truth is, what don't we know? We're ready to take action right now. And that's what I realized at 19, 20, 21, that you don't have to wait, that action starts right now. Jeff, Paul, and John, they joined our board of advisors. We formed the Millennium Campus Network. And one of the things that I realized at that point was that every voice matters. Every voice matters. And one of the ways I learned that was quite literally being in the seats that you're sitting in right now. I'm 26 now. At the time I was 19, 20, 21, sitting every year, coming to the Youth Assembly at the United Nations, sitting where you are, and asking myself, why am I here? What is my purpose? What can we accomplish together? And being able to meet ambassadors and leaders and realize we're all the same. We're all human beings. Doesn't matter how young you are, if you have passion, if you have an idea and you have follow through, things can happen. Things can change. And so 5 years in, 5.5 years in, what have we done? Well, we're about to have our 5th annual Millennium Campus Conference, and I invite you all. It's November 1st and 2nd in Boston. You can go to this website, mcc2013.org. Write it down, mcc2013.org. Check it out. So we've engaged over 5,000 students through this conference. When we started out, we had no money in the bank. We were working out of our dorm rooms. We would have meetings in pajamas. I mean, literally, we didn't care. We just had an idea. But we came back, and we started coming to the UN, and we said, hey, United Nations, will you fund us? And every year, they said, no, we're not interested. We have so many proposals that come across our door. One piece of advice I would give you, be persistent. Persistence pays off. We kept coming back to the UN time and time again, saying, look, we want to build a national student movement across the United States for the Millennium Development Goals. We're on the same team. We did the first conference, we kept coming back, and I'll never forget, we met with Anita Sharma, who was working at the UN Millennium Campaign. And we presented our budget to her. We were hoping for $2,000 or $3,000. She looked down at the budget. She looked back up at us, and she said, how about $20,000 to $30,000? I said, $30,000 sounds great. And so that was our first donor. That was how it all started. We started in dorm rooms. And from there, the Genzabar Foundation and Microsoft and HP and all these corporations and foundations and individuals have got behind this movement. And so we're doing this conference every year. We're launching a new fellowship program in Boston to make student organizations more effective and more sustainable, to make them high-performing organizations. Intent is not good enough. We actually need to see results. That's why we're here. I think that's why each and every one of you is here, because we care, and that's important. But we need to know that we're actually reaching outcomes, that we're managing to outcomes. And so we're doing this conference. We're launching a fellowship program. We're engaging government leaders at the highest level. Yes, we met with President Obama in the White House to share our progress. We've met world leaders. We've traveled for the State Department. We've done it all. I think the most important thing is, though, not what we do to fundraise and mobilize, but really what students themselves are doing every single day. We've allocated over $50,000 in grants to student organizations serving in Uganda, India, Nicaragua, and beyond, in schools, health clinics, clean water initiatives focused on the MDGs. And there's one organization in particular, as one example, Project Plus One from Brandeis University and Northeastern University. They're working in the nation of Timor-Leste, and they're working with a tuberculosis clinic. The clinic doesn't have healthy meals for its patients, so the students are creating a 4-year partnership with the clinic, and they're going to provide healthy meals to the patients. So it's actually going to provide healthy meals and actually save the clinic $1,300 per month in expenses. And that's an idea, an innovation driven by and partnered by youth. That's the capacity of our generation. We don't need to be world leaders right now. We need to get our hands dirty and start doing what needs to be done. And so I want to leave you with 2 main points. Number 1, a piece of advice, the best piece of advice I ever received. It wasn't as beautiful as this venue is, the United Nations, and as beautiful as the Youth Assembly is, and meeting with President Obama. The best piece of advice, the single best piece of advice that I will give you is a piece of advice I received from a homeless man in Washington, D.C. We're having lunch together. We're sitting on the street corner. And I asked him about 20 minutes into the conversation, about 20 minutes in, I said, "How do you survive? How do you survive?" And he looked back at me, and sitting on the sidewalk looking up at the passerby, he said, "I'm not afraid to talk to anyone. I'm not afraid to look up at those above me and ask for help." Never be afraid to talk to anyone. Never be afraid to talk to anyone. I have carried that advice with me in everything that I do. I keep challenging myself. Our team challenges ourselves to continually reach out to people, to leaders, to innovators, and yes, most importantly, to listen to the poor, listen to people who are struggling right now, because they have the assets and understanding of how they're going to lead their own communities out of poverty, and start listening a little bit more. And that's what we've learned over 6 years. So I learned that from a homeless man. And what that experience taught me is that every voice matters. Your voice matters. Every single one of you convened here from all over the world, you can take action right now. You believe in the Millennium Development Goals. They're not the goals of world leaders. They're the goals of all citizens, rich and poor, united in this movement. So I want to ask you a question. If you believe that education is a human right, I want you to stand up right now. If you believe that health care is a human right, I want you to stand up right now. Clean water, environmental sustainability, maternal health, ending child, all these issues, extreme poverty. If you believe it's unconscionable that 1.2 billion people are living in extreme poverty as we meet at the United Nations right now, then what we need from you is commitment to action, to challenge yourselves, to reach out. So I want you to take one moment right now, turn to the person behind you, and introduce yourself right now. Go ahead. Like this, you're afraid, you don't know, can I come talk to the ambassador? Can I come talk to a speaker? Can I come talk to another student or youth leader? I'm not sure, they might not want to talk to me. No, they want to talk to you, that's why we're all here. We're all on the same team. And I want to close with this. This is from the post-2015 agenda, this quote. "The next development agenda must ensure that in the future, neither income nor gender, nor ethnicity, nor disability, nor geography will determine whether people live or die, whether a mother can give birth safely, or whether her child has a fair chance in life. We must keep faith with the promise of the MDGs and now finish the job. That's your job. Thank you so much for being here. Honored to be with you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.